And next, I want to bring out, thank you, the folks from BitTorrent. Now, this may be a unique opportunity for us to learn more about BitTorrent. So, Erik Schwartz, how you doing?
Great meeting you.
Great to meet you. So, I know when I got the call from NCTA to moderate this panel, I have this perception of BitTorrent, and I won't say it's always a positive perception, but I think you sell a lot of internet subscriptions for us. But I wanted to give you a chance today to talk about a new application that you're debuting. And I know I don't want to steal your thunder from your presentations.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to kind of cover the difference between BitTorrent, the protocol, and BitTorrent, the company. BitTorrent, the protocol, was invented in 2001 by Bram Cohen as a way of kind of improving on HTTP for moving files around the internet. In 2001, Bram open sourced the protocol. Lots of people have been using it for all kinds of things. In 2004, BitTorrent Inc. was founded as a company that would leverage that peer-to-peer protocol and generally the ideas around peer-to-peer and a decentralized internet in order to solve problems on the internet. There's lots of people who use the open source protocol. Twitter and Facebook and Wikipedia use the open source protocol to do code deployments. Amazon Web Services has built it into AWS right now. So if your developers are using AWS, there's a good chance they're using BitTorrent. BitTorrent Live, and I actually have some slides that I need to.
Well, let's go to your slides. I know this is what we're here to see.
Yeah, BitTorrent Live is an entirely new protocol that was built from the ground up to support live streaming on the internet. About 5 years ago, Bram started working on a solution to that. Unlike the BitTorrent protocol, BitTorrent Live is not open sourced. It is a proprietary patented protocol. And the first thing we've decided to do with this protocol is build out basically a virtual MVPD. So now it's a virtual MVPD kind of focused on live. And I'm in Silicon Valley. Everybody in Silicon Valley is talking about, wait, live? Wait, linear TV is dead. It's all about video on demand now. It's all about Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that. Reed Hastings every quarter gets up at his conference call and says linear is dead. Well, in some ways he's right. In some ways, for some programming, linear is not the way to consume it. Like, I want to consume my House of Cards when I want to consume it, and I probably want to binge watch it. Game of Thrones, same kind of thing. What is the problem with that, though, is there's a huge chunk of television that has to be linear and it has to be live. And that's news, that's sports, and that's live events. And if you think about kind of systematically, those are some of the most important things on television. As a culture and as a society, election night, we're all going to be watching election returns on live television. When the Super Bowl happens, we're all watching it live. When the VMAs or the Academy Awards happen, we all watch them live. So the live piece of it is really important, and it's been kind of neglected by Silicon Valley. So how is BitTorrent Live different than other ways of solving this problem? Like I said, this was built from the ground up to be peer-to-peer and to support live streaming. So we have a source that ingests live video via RTMP or satellite or however, and that source feeds the first 10 viewers. The 11th viewer is getting their video from the other 10 viewers. The 12th viewer is getting their video not from the source. They're getting it from the other viewers. The 100,000th viewer is getting it from the other viewers. So there's three things that are great about this. First of all, what I didn't mention in this whole thing was CDNs. There are no CDNs. We don't need CDNs. We can distribute live video basically at any scale in a peer-to-peer manner without having to use content distribution networks. That's good for a couple reasons. First of all, CDNs are expensive. Second of all, CDNs require pre-planning. And if you're talking about live television, sometimes you can pre-plan it. Election night, they know there's going to be a lot of people watching. Plane lands on the Hudson, nobody knew that was going to happen. Terrorist attacks, nobody knew that was going to happen. Red Sox game goes into the 9th inning as a no-hitter. Nobody knows that's going to happen. The third thing is it's an issue of latency. And this will get a little mathy here, but what we call a swarm of viewers is growing exponentially. So you're never very many hops back from the source. So we to see end-to-end latency, because we're not using HLS, we're using H.264 embedded within our own distribution protocol. We see end-to-end latency in the 6 to 8 second range, basically on any size swarm. And that starts to become really, really important. Sunday night, I get into town, I'm watching the Sharks playoffs game on a network who's here's app, who I won't mention. And I was also watching the game on Twitter, because I have hockey friends who are on Twitter. Twitter was a minute ahead of the game. So I was hearing about goals and penalties long before they actually happened. So enough talking, let's do a demo. And if we could switch over to the Apple TV source. And we have. All right, so this is a plain vanilla Apple TV. And if I launch the BitTorrent Live app, the first thing you're going to notice is immediately it just brings up live television. That's one show there. We can bring up Twit. So we see a startup time of a couple seconds. One of the things we really want to do is when you start the app, it starts playing the channel you were watching last. This is television. Television isn't about starting television and seeing a menu. Television is about starting television and seeing programming. So, if you've got this running, if I click on it, it brings up a little information about what it is. If I scroll down a little more, it's other stuff that's on now. If I kind of go over here to back to Tom, go to him, I can pull up other things that are coming up on this channel over the next, the rest of the day. So there's other stuff coming up. Here's an MMA channel that we're running.
She is not done.
I have no idea what's going to be on the MMA channel, so we'll move off of that one fairly quickly. Extreme sports. BitTorrent has an audience of about 170 million people every month. Oh, great. Has about an audience of about 170 million people every month. We have about 1 million downloads a day, about 40 million daily actives. So we think we're going to be able to expand out into our audience of largely millennials, 18 to 34, pretty quickly. If we can pop back over to the slides, I have a couple more slides to show, and then we can wind up, and if you've got any questions. So, the business models, fundamentally, we're an MVPD. Although we don't have distribution
Don't tell
costs,
the FCC that, though. Okay.
That's a whole other conversation that will not happen right now. Since we don't have distribution costs, we are able to offer a free tier. So we're always going to offer a free tier of channels. We're Silicon Valley people. We have seen that people like to try things out for free first. Then basically it's subscription bundles, a la carte channels, pay-per-view events, and then hyper-targeted advertising. None of this is a new model. This is all very much the way the cable industry and satellite industry have been running for a long time. Availability, we're going to be available this week on Apple TV and OS X. In June, we'll ship on iOS and Android. We'll be adding more platforms over the summer. And finally, if you've got questions, you can reach out to me. And just as one final word, huge amounts of thanks to a whole pile of people. Monica, who's here somewhere, who's running around doing programming deals. Bram, who wrote the protocol. Christian in the marketing team, and most importantly, 4 amazing engineers back in San Francisco who have been killing themselves on this thing for a year now. It's amazing what you can do, what you can build with 4 of the right engineers. Thanks a lot.
So we've got 1 minute left, and I'll fire some questions at you, or at least a question.
Great.
So you're targeting live programming.
Yep.
So sports. So how are you going to get your content? Where are you going to get the content for sports?
So, clearly we don't have the bank account to compete with some of the crazy sports right negotiations that are going on right now. But we have a millennial audience that while they like conventional sports, also likes a lot of action sports, a lot of extreme sports, a lot of more niche sports. And so we're starting there. And Monica has done a great job rounding up, some MMA, some other action sports channels, and there's a whole pile more of those coming down the road. Down the road, we have a couple million subs. We can start to have other conversations. If the FCC kind of reclassifies things in a certain way, and we are an MVPD, then we can start to have conversations with local affiliates and networks.
Right.
But that's down the road a bit.
Well, listen, that's fascinating. I have a whole new perception of BitTorrent now.
We try.
We really appreciate you coming out today, and I think this is a very cool application. So
Thanks a lot for having me. Thanks for coming, and
much appreciated.
Thanks a lot.
All right, our next demo.